Hey, my name is Dylan Hayes. I'm 30 years old and I run a small electrical repair crew in Austin, Texas. We handle houses, old shops, and small offices that need rewiring or fixing after storms. It's not glamorous work, but I built the business from nothing with 3 guys on my payroll, one beat up work truck, and a schedule that's almost always full. Most days I'm out on job sites by 7 in the morning, and by the time I get home, I'm too tired to do anything except eat something quick and check tomorrow's materials list. I used to think I could balance it all. Then an ex-girlfriend told me straight out that I didn't have time for a real relationship, only for work. She wasn't wrong. After that, I stopped trying so hard. Dating felt like another appointment I'd eventually have to cancel. So when my friend Jenna said she wanted to set me up with her coworker Kelsey Hart, a 28-year-old ER nurse, I almost said no. Jenna told me Kelsey was kind, tough, and just as bad at keeping a normal schedule as I was. That part made me laugh. At least we'd have something in common. We picked a Friday night at Taco Libre, a casual Mexican place near downtown. I showed up at 7 wearing clean jeans and a plain button-up. I got a table by the window, ordered a beer, and waited. 7:10, 7:20, 7:35. My phone kept lighting up with messages from Kelsey. She was stuck at the hospital. A motorcycle accident had come in, and she couldn't leave in the middle of stabilizing the patient. I typed back the same thing each time. It's fine. Take your time. I'll hold the table. Your time. I meant it. I'd canceled dinners, birthdays, even a short trip once because a client's breaker box caught fire during a storm. I knew what it felt like when your job didn't fit neatly into a calendar. At 7:43, the front door opened and she walked in. She was still in her scrubs, light blue and wrinkled from a long shift. Her hair was pulled up but coming loose in a few strands around her face. There was an old coffee stain on one sleeve. She looked exhausted, eyes a little red, shoulders tight, but there was something honest about the way she carried herself, like she had nothing left to hide behind. The second she spotted me, she hurried over, words already spilling out before she even reached the table. "I'm so sorry I'm still in my work clothes. I know I look terrible. I'm so late. I almost canceled because this is the third time in 2 months I've had to bail last minute, and I hate doing that to people. There was a motorcycle crash and I couldn't just leave. If you want to go, I completely understand. Really, I'm..." "Kelsey," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Stop for a second." She froze, mouth still half open, like she was bracing for me to stand up and walk out. I pulled the chair out across from me. "You just spent your whole day taking care of other people. Sit down. I already ordered you some water and food's coming. You don't have to apologize for any of that." She stayed standing for another beat, staring at me like she wasn't sure she'd heard right. Then she slowly lowered herself into the chair. Her hands were still gripping the edge of the table. I pushed the glass of water toward her. "Drink that first. You look like you're about to fall over." She took a sip, then another, longer one. When she set the glass down, her fingers were still wrapped around it like she needed something to hold on to. "The last time I ate was around 2, she admitted quietly. "Half a granola bar between patients." I flagged the server and added tacos and a margarita to the order. When I turned back, Kelsey was watching me with this careful, almost wary expression. "You're not mad?" she asked. "I've canceled more plans than I can count because someone's power went out or their ceiling started leaking after rain. I get it. Work doesn't always wait." She let out a breath that sounded like it had been sitting in her chest for hours. We didn't talk about anything heavy at first. I asked about the accident that kept her late. She told me the rider was stable now, broken leg and road rash, but nothing life-threatening. While she talked about the case, her eyes got brighter, even though she was clearly running on fumes. I could tell this wasn't just a job to her, it mattered. I told her about the older houses I worked on in East Austin, and the guy last week who wanted me to install a chandelier that could somehow sync lights to his mood playlist. She actually laughed at that, a real laugh that made her shoulders drop a little. When the food came, she ate like she hadn't realized how hungry she was. Between bites, she asked if it bothered me that she was always going to be busy and unpredictable. "I'm busy too," I said. "I don't have the right to judge someone for trying to be good at what they do." That made her go quiet for a minute. She looked down at her plate, then back up at me with something softer in her face. We stayed until the restaurant started closing around us. She stopped apologizing every other sentence. She told me about the weirdest things that came through the ER on a Friday night: kids with Lego up their noses, an old man who thought he was having a heart attack but had just eaten too many jalapenos. I told her about the client who swore his outlets were haunted because they made a buzzing sound only at night. When we finally walked out to the parking lot, she still looked surprised that the night had gone okay. "I really thought you were going to leave when you saw me walk in like this," she said, gesturing at her scrubs. I looked at the wrinkled fabric, the tired eyes, the way she was still standing there even though she probably wanted to collapse into bed. "I saw you exactly how you are," I said. "Tired, late, still in your work clothes, but you showed up. That's enough for me." Her mouth tightened like she was trying not to let something show. She nodded once, quick and small. Before she got in her car, I asked if I could text her sometime. Maybe set up another night when she wasn't coming straight from saving someone's life. She smiled, small but real. "I'd really like that." Like, I watched her drive away. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I was forcing something that didn't fit. She had walked into my night exactly as she was. No performance, no perfect version of herself, and somehow that made everything feel quieter inside me. I drove home with the windows down, the warm Austin air moving through the truck. My phone sat on the passenger seat. I didn't open it. I just let the night sit there for a while, simple and unfinished, the way most real things start. 3 weeks later, I understood something about Kelsey Hart. Apologizing wasn't just something she did. It was a reflex, like breathing. She apologized when she took too long to answer a text. She apologized when she fell asleep 20 minutes into the second movie we tried to watch. She apologized in long, careful paragraphs when she had to cancel dinner because the hospital called her in to cover for a sick coworker. She even apologized the night I brought food to the hospital and she only had 12 minutes between patients to eat it. Every time I told her the same thing. "You don't have to apologize, Kelsey." She still did. Our second date was supposed to be simple: a new action movie at the theater near her apartment. I bought the tickets early, picked her up after her shift, and we made it inside before the previews even started. She looked exhausted but happy to be there. 20 minutes in, her head slowly tipped against my shoulder. I didn't wake her. I let her sleep through the rest of the film, her breathing steady and warm against my shirt. When the lights came up, she jerked awake, eyes wide with panic. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. You paid for the tickets and I just—" "Hey," I said quietly. "You needed sleep more than you needed the ending. It's fine." She stared at me like she was waiting for the part where I got annoyed. It never came. After a long moment, she let out a shaky breath and rested her head back against my shoulder for another minute before we stood up to leave. The third date never happened. She canceled 2 hours before with a text that read like an apology essay. She explained who was out sick, which patients needed extra attention, why she couldn't say no. I read it twice, then answered with 4 words: "Go to work, save people, we'll reschedule." That was it. No guilt, no pressure. She replied with a single heart emoji an hour later, and I knew she'd been carrying that message around like a weight she finally got to put down. After that, we stopped trying to force normal dates. We built something that actually fit our lives instead. Most mornings I sent her the same text before her shift started: "Hope you survived tonight." She usually answered hours later, sometimes with a voice note because typing was too much. Just pulled a battery out of a 5-year-old's ear. Today's off to a strong start. I'd send back something about whatever ridiculous request I'd gotten on a job site that day. One client wanted a light switch that clapped on and off, like in the old movies. Another swore his outlets were haunted because they buzzed only after midnight. Kelsey always laughed at those. I could hear it in the tired, raspy sound of her voice notes. We met when we could, usually late. Sometimes she still showed up in scrubs. Sometimes I came straight from a job smelling like sawdust and burnt wire. We sat in 24-hour diners or little taco places that stayed open past midnight, eating whatever was fast and cheap, talking like two people who didn't need to perform for each other. I started noticing the way she carried herself when she thought no one was paying attention. She was always bracing for disappointment, always ready to explain why she was too much trouble. One night after a long shift, I drove her home. She sat in the passenger seat with her eyes half closed, head resting against the window. "Dylan," she said quietly. Do you think I'm too hard to date? I glanced over. Why are you asking me that? Because I'm not stable. My schedule changes every week. I'm tired all the time. Sometimes I don't even have the energy to text back. I don't know if a normal person can handle this. I kept my eyes on the road. Lucky for you, I'm not that normal. She laughed once, soft and short. Then the sound died and she went quiet again. A few blocks later, she told me about Ryan. He worked in finance. 9 to 5, weekends off, everything scheduled in advance. At first, he said he admired what she did. After a few months, he started getting frustrated when she worked nights or canceled plans last minute. One night, he told her she would never have a normal life if she stayed in the ER, that no one wanted to be with someone who was never really there. She chose the job. He left. And ever since, she carried this quiet belief that she was too much, too busy, too tired, too committed to something that would always come before a relationship. I pulled up in front of her building and put the truck in park. For a minute, neither of us moved. Ryan was wrong, I said. She turned to look at me. The right person won't ask you to shrink, so you fit inside their life? Her eyes went glassy. She blinked fast and looked down at her hands. I didn't push. I didn't reach for her. I just sat there with the engine idling and let the words sit between us. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. I don't want to be someone's disappointment again. You're not, I said. Not to me. She nodded once, like she wanted to believe it but wasn't sure how. Then she opened the door and stepped out. Before she closed it, she looked back. Thank you for driving me and for not making this harder. Text me when you're inside safe. She gave me a tired smile and shut the door. I watched her walk up the steps to her building, shoulders hunched against the night air. Something had shifted in the truck that night. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a confession or a kiss. It was quieter than that. Two people recognizing the same old wound in each other and deciding, without saying it out loud, that they weren't going to run from it. I drove home with the windows cracked, the city lights sliding past. My phone stayed dark on the seat beside me. I didn't need to check it. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for the other person to decide I was too much work. I was just driving, and somewhere behind me, Kelsey was walking into her apartment still wearing the day she'd carried for 12 hours, and neither of us had to apologize for any of it. 3 months after that first night at Taco Libre, Kelsey got called into her manager's office. Patricia offered her the charge nurse position for the evening shift. More money, more responsibility, more recognition. It was the role she had been working toward for years. She would be the one coordinating the team, backing up the doctors, handling the hardest cases that came through the ER doors at night. She should have been happy. Instead, her first thought was simple and sharp. Dylan is going to leave. The new position meant longer hours, more weekends, more last-minute calls when someone called out. She knew she wanted it. She loved the ER. She didn't want a safe, predictable life just to make someone else comfortable. But the old fear came rushing back anyway, Ryan's voice echoing in her head like it had never left. No one wants to be with someone who's never really there. She asked Patricia for 24 hours to think about it, even though she already knew her answer. 2 days later, she texted me. Can we meet for coffee? I have something I need to tell you. I knew something was wrong the second I read it. We met at the little place near her apartment, the one with the good espresso and the quiet back corner. She was already there when I walked in, both hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched. Her eyes kept flicking away from mine. I sat down across from her. What's going on, Kel? She took a breath that didn't seem to reach her lung. My manager offered me charge nurse. I started to smile, ready to tell her how proud I was, but she kept talking before I could get the words out. I'm going to take it, I have to. It's what I've been working toward for years, but it's going to make my schedule even worse. More hours, more weekends, more nights I'll have to cancel on you. I won't be able to give you anything close to a normal relationship. I set my cup down slowly. Kelsey? She shook her head, eyes already glassy. Let me finish. You've been really good to me, Dylan. Too good. But I know how this ends. At first you'll say it's fine. Then you'll get tired. Then you'll realize you deserve someone who can actually show up. And I don't want to wait until you start resenting me to end this. I stared at her, trying to catch up. Are you breaking up with me right now? She bit her lip hard. I think it's better to stop before it gets more painful than it already is. I sat back in the chair. For a few seconds, I couldn't find any words that made sense. I haven't even gotten to congratulate you yet. Her face crumpled. She looked away, blinking fast. I'm sorry. That sorry landed heavier than all the others she'd ever given me. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. What have I done that makes you think I'm going to react the same way Ryan did? Nothing, she whispered. That's the problem. You've been nothing but patient and kind, and I can't stand the idea of you waking up one day and realizing I'm not worth it. I wanted to reach across the table and take her hand, but she had both of them clenched around that mug like it was the only thing holding her together. Kelsey, please, don't decide how I feel for me. She stood up suddenly, grabbing her bag. I can't do this right now. I'm sorry. Then she walked out. I stayed at the table for a long time after she left, staring at the second cup of coffee she never drank. The shop felt too quiet. My chest felt too tight. That night, I sent her 3 messages. Kelsey, please talk to me. I'm proud of you. You don't get to decide how I feel about you. She didn't answer any of them. She took the promotion. From what I heard later through Jenna, she threw herself into the new role like she was trying to outrun something. Extra shifts, every difficult schedule, every hard case that came through the doors. She buried herself in work until there was no room left for anything else, especially not the parts of herself that were scared. I tried to respect the distance she put between us. I didn't show up at the hospital. I didn't keep texting. But every night when I got home from a job site, the quiet in my house felt different. I missed the sound of her tired voice notes. I missed the way she used to look at me like she couldn't quite believe I wasn't already halfway out the door. I knew she hadn't stopped caring. She had just gotten scared. And if I really wanted this, if I really wanted her, I couldn't just sit back and let fear make all the decisions for both of us. I sat on the edge of my bed that night with my phone in my hand, staring at the last message I'd sent her. The screen had gone dark a long time ago. I didn't open it again. I just sat there in the dark, letting the weight of what happened settle in my chest. For the first time since I met her, I wasn't sure if being patient was enough, but I also wasn't ready to let her go. 2 weeks after that coffee shop conversation, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I texted Jenna, Kelsey's coworker and the one who had introduced us in the first place. What time does Kelsey get off tonight? She answered almost immediately. 11 o'clock, South parking lot. About time you showed up. Go talk to her. I drove to the hospital at 10:45. The night air in Austin had turned sharp, the kind of cold that settles into your jacket and stays there. I parked near the employee exit, left the engine off, and sat in the dark with the windows cracked. I didn't have a speech planned. I just knew that if I let Kelsey keep believing she was too much work for anyone to love, I would regret it for a long time. At 11:15, the side door opened and she walked out, still in her scrubs. Hair falling loose from the bun she'd probably tied 12 hours earlier. Shoulders pulled tight from exhaustion. She carried her bag like it weighed more than it should. Her steps were slow, like her body was moving on autopilot. I opened the truck door and stepped out. Kelsey! She stopped mid-step, turned. For a second, her face went through 3 different expressions. Surprise, worry, then something like a wall going up. Dylan? What are you doing here? Is everything okay? I walked closer but stopped a few feet away, giving her space. I need to talk to you. You haven't answered my messages, so I came here. If you really want me to leave after this, I will. But you have to hear me out first. She stood there under the yellow parking lot lights, studying me like she was trying to decide whether this was going to hurt. After a long moment, she nodded once. I didn't waste time. You broke up with me before I even got the chance to tell you I was proud of you. Her shoulders stiffened. You told me about something you'd been working toward for years, and instead of letting me react, you decided I was going to be disappointed. You decided I was going to resent you. You took the wound Ryan left and put it on me like it was already mine. She looked away, jaw tight. I was trying to protect you from a relationship that would only make you tired. No, I said. You were trying to protect yourself from being left again. I get it. But you don't get to decide for me that I can't handle you. She gripped the strap of her bag harder. Dylan, you don't understand. I'm always going to be late, always going to be tired, always going to have nights where the hospital comes first. I'm going to miss birthdays and dinners and weekends. I'm always going to have to choose between my job and someone else's feelings. I can't give you an easy life. I took one step closer. I didn't fall in love with you because you were easy. Her eyes came back to mine. They were already wet. I kept going, slower now, making sure every word landed. I fell in love with you the night you walked into Taco Libre 45 minutes late, still in your wrinkled scrubs after you'd just saved someone's life. I didn't fall for some perfect version of you who has weekends off and shows up on time and never looks tired. I fell for the real one, the one who's exhausted but still shows up, the one who takes care of everyone else and forgets to eat, the one who thinks she's too much when she's really just never met someone who knows how to value what she gives. A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Her voice cracked when she finally spoke. I don't want to be too much anymore. I'm tired of always apologizing. I'm tired of feeling like I have to choose between the work I love and being someone who's easy to love. I'm tired of shrinking myself so other people don't get uncomfortable. I reached out and took her hand. This time she didn't pull away. Then stop shrinking, I said. Stop apologizing for being good at what you do. Stop apologizing for caring too much. Stop apologizing for having ambition. I don't need you to make yourself smaller to fit into my life. I want to build a life that's big enough for both of us. She started crying for real then, not quiet tears she could hide, the kind that came from somewhere deep, the kind she'd probably been holding back for years. I pulled her into my chest. She let me. Her forehead pressed against my shoulder, both hands fisting the front of my jacket like she was afraid I might disappear if she let go. I already ruined everything, she said, voice muffled and broken. I held her tighter. Yeah, a little. She let out a wet, shaky laugh against my shirt. But we can fix it, I said. If you get scared again, tell me. Don't leave before I get the chance to stay. She nodded against me. I felt her shoulders shake once, then settle. We stayed like that for a long time in the middle of the hospital parking lot. No dramatic music, no perfect lighting. Just the hum of the lights overhead, the cold air, and the sound of her breathing slowly calming down against my chest. When she finally pulled back enough to look at me, her eyes were red and tired and completely open. I'm still going to be difficult sometimes, she whispered. I know. And I'm still going to work too much. I know that too. She searched my face like she was looking for any sign that I might change my mind. I didn't give her one. Instead, I wiped a tear from her cheek with my thumb and said the only thing that mattered. I'm not asking you to be less. I'm asking you to let me be here anyway. She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, something in her face had shifted. The wall she'd been holding up for weeks was gone. Okay, she said quietly. It wasn't a grand declaration. It wasn't a promise that everything would be easy from now on. It was just one word, small and honest, in a cold parking lot at almost midnight. But it was enough. I kept my arms around her while the city moved around us, cars pulling out, nurses heading home, the distant sound of an ambulance somewhere far off. None of it felt like it belonged to us in that moment. For the first time since she walked out of that coffee shop, I let myself believe that maybe we could actually do this. Not perfectly, just together. 4 months later, Kelsey was still late more often than not, but she apologized less. One Friday night, she texted me around 7. Running late, still in scrubs, haven't showered, bringing tie. I wrote back, don't apologize, drive safe, I'll be here. She answered almost immediately, I wasn't going to. I smiled at my phone like an idiot. That small shift still felt like progress. She showed up at 7:30 with 2 plastic bags and tired eyes. Her hair was falling out of the bun she'd worn all day. There was a small coffee stain on the sleeve of her scrub top. I opened the door before she could knock. How was your day? I asked, taking the bags from her. Insane, she said, stepping inside and exhaling like she'd been holding her breath since morning. Skateboarder with a broken ankle. Seafood allergy that turned into anaphylaxis. A toddler who swallowed a quarter. I can still hear the monitors in my head. I set the food on the counter. Eat, shower, sleep. That's the whole plan tonight, nothing else. She looked at me for a second like she was checking whether I meant it. You're not bored yet? I shook my head. My girlfriend shows up with food and somehow survived another 12-hour shift. No, I'm not bored. She smiled, small and real, then stepped forward and wrapped her arms around my waist. The hug felt different now, less guarded, less like she was waiting for me to change my mind. She was good at the new job. It was hard and heavy and sometimes overwhelming, but she was built for it. The other nurses trusted her. The doctors listened when she spoke. The newer staff came to her when they were scared. She still came home some nights completely drained, but she didn't say, "I'm sorry for being tired," as often anymore. I was learning how to love her better too, not by asking her to change, but by staying steady. I brought food to the hospital on nights she couldn't leave. I fixed the wobbly shelf in her apartment without being asked. I learned when to talk and when to just sit with her in silence after a bad shift. We weren't a perfect couple. We didn't have beautiful weekends every week or post photos of date nights. Some weeks we only saw each other twice. Once in my truck outside the hospital for 20 minutes. Once at my place when she fell asleep on the couch before we could finish dinner. But what we had was real. 6 months after she started the new position, she had her first performance review. They told her she was one of the best charge nurses they'd had in years. That night we celebrated with frozen pizza and cheap wine in my small kitchen. She held her glass and looked at me for a long time before she spoke. I used to think that if I wanted to be loved, I had to be easier, more available, less ambitious, less tired, less me. I waited. Now I think the right person won't love you because you became less. They'll love you because you stayed exactly who you are. I lifted my glass and touched it lightly to hers. Finally figured that out, huh? She bumped my hand with hers, smiling. Don't get cocky. I pulled her closer and kissed her forehead. A while after that, we started talking about living together, not rushing. She wanted to feel steady in the new role first. I didn't push. She asked me one night if I was really okay with taking things slow. I told her the truth. Kelsey, you showed up 45 minutes late to our first date and I still stayed. I think I'm pretty good at waiting. She laughed, then rested her head against my shoulder. The story doesn't end with anything dramatic. No big move-in day or perfect proposal. It ends on a quiet night in Austin when it was raining lightly outside. Kelsey was still in her scrubs, curled up on my couch with her legs tucked under her, head resting against the cushion. I sat beside her, going over the next day's job list on my phone. On the coffee table were 2 half-eaten takeout containers, a glass of water, and her jacket thrown over the arm of the chair. Nothing about it was perfect. But she was there, and I was there. And for the first time in a long time, Kelsey didn't look at her uniform like it was something she needed to apologize for. It was just proof of who she was. Dedicated, strong, tired, stubborn, full of care for people she didn't even know. I didn't want her to change any of that. I just wanted to be the person who was still there when she came home late, when she fell asleep on the couch, when she had a good day at work, and when the old fear tried to tell her she was too much again. Because the right person doesn't make you choose between your dreams and being loved. The right person says, "Be exactly who you are, I'm staying."